to order the workshop session for Common Council meeting, January 16th, 2017 at 5 p.m. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Williams. Here. Councilmember Bamanto.
Here.
Councilmember Heenan.
Here.
Councilmember Civiletto.
Here.
Councilmember at-large Worship.
Present. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Since this is only a workshop session, we'll skip over certification of the prior meetings. We'll skip over reading of the privilege of the floor regulations and privilege of the floor, and we'll begin with communications from the mayor, including disapproval messages. Mayor, you have anything for us today?
I just would like to make two announcements for the record. The State of the City for 2018 will be Friday, 3:30 p.m. here at City Hall. And also, we have a new appointment as acting judge. Her name is Rachel Roberts. And I'll be making those announcements at the city meeting.
What time was that, State of the City?
3:30.
3:30.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Number 6, communications from the public and petitions.
Number 1, notice of claim from Rebecca Merrick for alleged damages to her vehicle when it was struck by a city plow truck.
I'm going to make a motion, or I'm going to need a motion to refer this to the law department.
I'll second it.
Williams with the first, Mr. Heenan with the second.
Number 2, notice of claim from Ken Drummond for alleged damages to his rims when he hit an unfilled pothole.
I will need a motion to refer this to the law department. Councilman Williams with the first,
Second.
Councilman Bamanto with the second. Number 7, reports of standing committees, boards, and commissions. Councilman Williams?
Nothing here.
Nothing. Mr. Bamanto?
There'll be a personnel meeting Wednesday, January 31st, 4 p.m., Mayor's Conference Room. That's all I have.
Mr. Heenan?
Nothing, sir.
Mr. Civiletto?
Yes, I did have a safety committee meeting. We talked about a third-party vendor supplying an emergency notification system called Code Red. We got pricings on it. It was just an exploratory meeting just to introduce it. Basically, some departments were interested in it, some of them weren't. But I personally think it's a good idea for the city because I think we have a gap in our communications for things like travel advisories, anything happening with street closings. It's hard for people to know exactly what this system does is it actually, you get a cell phone message, a text, as opposed to having to go someplace to find this information out, like going to Facebook or going to WDOE or to the city website to find these things out. It actually alerts you instead of you having to search out an alert. So that's just an exploratory thing, and I'm gonna stay on that and see if that's something that we can do in the future. And that is about it for the safety.
You'll have the same opportunity during the meeting as well to speak upon that. Any department heads have anything they'd like to share during the workshop? Seeing none, we'll move on to number 8, unfinished business. No unfinished business. Number 9, pre-filed resolutions.
12, resolution authorizing agreement for consultant services for City of Dunkirk Smart Growth Capital Initiative Central Connections Projects.
Any discussion? Number 13,
Resolution authorizing agreement for consultant services for City of Dunkirk Smart Growth Capital Initiative Pier and Harbor Projects.
any discussion, council? Number 14,
Resolution authorizing agreement for consultant services for City of Dunkirk Smart Growth Capital Initiative Branding and Marketing Projects.
any discussion? Number 15,
Resolution for State Environmental Quality Review Act Determination of Environmental Significance Negative Declaration.
any discussion? Number 16,
Resolution authorizing agreement for the adoption of the Chautauqua County Jurisdictional All-Hazard Mitigation Plan.
any discussion? Number 17,
Resolution authorizing to bag all inoperable parking meters in the city until deemed operable.
any discussion during workshop? Mr. Civiletto?
Just wanted to put out there that, been working on this for actually more than a year, probably for 4 years. When I moved back here, I noticed that, meters weren't all working. They were working in some places and some not. So because of that, I'm trying to find a solution to remedy the problem. There is a solution to actually fix or to actually take all of the meters from the back parking lot and use those as meters to fix the ones in the front, and then have our only permit parking in the back here. We're kind of, as a council, we are unable to really come together and say what we should do about the inequity right now between of parking meters being in front of some businesses and not in front of others, whether to bag the inoperable ones or to bag them all, or just to say that we're not going to have tickets written until they're all fixed. So because of that, I'd like to table it until we can come up with a better solution.
Okay. Mr. Civiletto is going to make a motion for a table
I'll second it.
during the meeting. Okay. Chief, did you have something to share?
Yeah, if I could just chip in on this here. Our officers went out here a couple of weeks
Can you have him come up,
ago,
Andy?
and they emptied the meters. And
Chief,
they
come on.
did lubricate all the meters with WD-40 and found we only have about 6 that don't work in the entire area. So one thing I will caution all of you on is when people come in and say the meters don't work, sometimes they're just looking for an excuse not to get a ticket. Okay? That being said, the weather as well with the warmth and the freezing. When our officers write the tickets, they literally spin to make sure they work before they put a ticket on a car. So when someone does come in and say that meter wasn't working, the officer will say, he spun it, it was not frozen up, it was not locked up. They make sure they spin them to make theirs working before they do put a ticket on them. I know in the past we've talked about, as Mr. Silvero said, taking the meters out of the lot and making sure the ones on the main thoroughfares, that'd be something we have to work with DPW on. I don't have an issue with that. We used to have a meter custodian, when he retired, and we don't have one anymore. They used to go out and do normal maintenance. That's maybe something we can work with Randy on as well. I don't know who's going to do that anymore. So, I mean, the meters do need normal maintenance. In the wintertime, they freeze, they thaw, some of them don't work. But as I said, I had my guys go out when they emptied the meters, and they sprayed WD-40 in all of them, and there's only about 6 that don't work. So sometimes when people say the meters aren't working, it's just because they don't want to pay that 6. Fine. So as far as bagging them, that's something maybe we can all sit down and talk about it. It really, that's a 6, 1/2 dozen the other thing. As far as bagging them, I don't, my personally, I don't think that's a good idea. But that's up for you folks to decide. I think it's something, we could talk about or go over. But I do think it's a good idea to look at pulling the ones out of the lot, because most of that is by permit only anyway, and making sure we have the ones working out here. And then my guys, when they empty the meters, they do, and when they do write tickets, they do spin those meters and make sure they work. So we are taking some steps to address these issues, but as I said, with the winter weather, you're going to get times where those meters will freeze up and they're not going to work. And we have a process in place where people can come in and file a complaint, and then it goes to Judge Coosdale, and he will decide whether to dismiss that ticket or not. So we're not, out there to get anybody. I just wanted to make that clear. I think there are some things that we could further discuss. If anyone would like to sit down, and we're more than glad, sit with, Mayor, Randy, Common Council, and discuss where we should go with it.
Do you know, did you take note as to where exactly those 6 are?
Yeah, our officers,
Okay.
I have it downstairs. They wrote them out for me, the ones that are not working. But like I said, we had a meter custodian who used to run on a regular basis and do that. He has since retired, so we need to, I really do believe we need to revisit assigning someone, from Public Works or somewhere that
We have
the
somebody in
tools
Public
and
Works that
the
can
tools and the
handle
ability to get in and fix them and do things like that.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. Thank you. Mr. Woodbury?
Yeah, I agree with the chief, and I believe with that approach, we probably can get these 6 fixed before the next meeting. The mayor stopped in a few minutes ago and spoke with engineer Andy Bone, first Andy had heard about it, so he's making a map of where the 6 are, and so that we can keep track of these. But it's not just the 6 that aren't working. As Councilman Cipollotto points out, there's some places the posts are missing. It's an inequitable layout of parking meters, so I think we need a map so that we can not only fix the 6, we can also, as a group, decide what the most equitable position of all these meters are. But we have enough it was Hector Rose's idea to take the meters from the back, which saves us thousands of dollars from having to buy new meters, and take the ones that are really seldom, if ever, used, and putting a sign there that maybe Ken Sec could make that say parking by permit only. And so we just a few minutes ago, the mayor stopped in and tasked myself and Andy Bone with this mission of Mr. Cipollotto's, and the first I heard, the chief's guys already have a database of that, so we can incorporate those 2 things, and we'll hit the ground running, get this thing fixed.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Woodbury.
I would also want to express concern because a few years back, they were going to make just an only permit parking lot. And however, some of the businesses that were along Central Avenue, including doctor's offices, other social offices, and restaurants, were concerned that they wouldn't have any parking for their patrons either. So there's concern there about making that only permit-only parking lot. So take that into consideration also. If you do, there might be some resistance.
We might not want to take all of them. It looks like we got to take at least 6 out of there, which wouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
So either way, this will be tabled at the meeting this evening for further discussion over the next 2 weeks.
I'd like guys to get out, Randy, and double check everything, we'll get a solid list of which ones aren't working, and then we go from there.
Sounds good. I'll let Randy stop down.
Thank you.
Can I just add, with what Randy said, it's really the inequitability, or if that's a word, there's posts without meters at all, and there's some that there's not even posts. And for an example, there's 1 parking meter on Main Street, on all of Main Street, in front of Dr. Strahalski's office. For some weird reason, there's 1. And why they never took that down, I don't know. So that's really my concern, is that if we're going to do this, I want to make sure that, okay, everyone in the 300 and the 400 block and all of 4th Street all have meters, or, and that it's equal. That's really my concern.
Be consistent.
Thank you, everyone. Any further discussion on number 17? Moving on to new business, we have 2 walk-in resolutions. Edwin?
Yes, sir. Resolution accepting general construction contract for Wright Park renovations.
Any discussion, council? Seeing none. Number 19?
Resolution accepting plumbing construction contract for Wright Park renovations.
Any discussion on that one, council? Seeing none, we will motion for adjournment. Oh, I'm sorry, chief?
I don't know if you guys received, we had something coming from the school requesting for the homecoming here.
It's all taken care of.
That's all taken care of?
Yep, thank you. Motion for adjournment. Councilman Cipollotto with the first, Councilman Williams with the second. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Councilmember Bamanto?
Aye.
Councilmember Heenan?
Aye.
Councilmember Cipollotto?
Aye.
Councilmember at-large Voish.
Aye. Workshop adjourned.
That's fine.
5:15.
6 seconds longer.
Yes. Yes.
I gotta start now. We're gonna do it.
Yes. Okay. Okay. I'll put it on the agenda.
Do you want to?
How's the agenda now?
Standing committees, anybody said I
No,
know.
beyond standing committee, so I'd like to talk about asking
Nothing as of yet. I did ask everybody already too, so all knows.
Unless they change their mind at the last moment.
Italian generosity begins with the very first course every day at Olive Garden. Start with our
Member at Large Voisin.
Here, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Certification of the prior meetings.
This is to certify that an official copy of the minutes of the Common Council meeting of Monday, January 1st, 2018, and Tuesday, January 2nd, 2018, were presented to the mayor on Monday, January 8th, 2018, and Wednesday, January 10th, 2018, respectively. Pursuant to Section 3.03 of the Dunkirk City Charter, all items presented to the mayor are now in full force and effect. In witness whereof, I have hereto set my hand and seal of the city of Dunkirk, New York, this 16th day of January 2018.
Need a motion dispensing with the reading of the minutes. Councilman Williams with the first. Councilman Bamanto with the second. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Councilmember Bamanto?
Aye.
Councilmember Heenan?
Aye.
Councilmember Civiletto?
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Voisin.
Aye. Reading of the privilege of the floor regulations.
The privilege of the floor shall be extended to any person appearing for themselves, in which case the individual shall be limited to 3 minutes, and to any person representing a group who shall be limited to 5 minutes. When recognized, please stand, state your name and address. The city clerk shall have the duty of maintaining such time limits, and the councilman at large may determine in his discretion whether individuals are speaking for themselves or representing groups. Councilman at large Voisin shall maintain good order and may require any speaker to cease speaking if remarks are made in bad taste or are slanderous or non-germane to any action taken or contemplated by council. The time limit specified above shall be strictly adhered to, except that a speaker may be allowed to complete a statement or thought started before such time has expired.
Privilege of the floor is now open. If anybody wishes to speak, please step forward to the podium and state your name and address. Privilege of the floor is now open. If anybody wishes to speak, please step forward to the podium and state your name and address. Perfect timing.
I'm Valerie Champlin. I'm here for Revitalize Dunkirk to remind everyone here and invite you all to Thursday evening's meeting, which begins at 6:30 at the incubator. And our guest will be the superintendent of schools, pardon me, Dr. Tracy. So we welcome you all, and we hope to see you then. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to take advantage or privilege of the floor, please step to the podium, state your name and address. Seeing none, privilege of the floor is now closed. Communications from the mayor, including disapproval messages. Mayor?
Mr. Chairman, I just have two quick announcements today. Number one, I'd like to invite the public, as well as all of our council members, this Friday. I will be conducting the State of the City Address 2018. It'll be here at City Hall Courtroom at 3:30 p.m. And I invite everyone to come out. I also wanted to make another announcement. I have appointed Rachel Roberts as the new City of Dunkirk acting judge, and her effective date will be January 12th, I believe it is. And that's it.
Thank you, Mayor. Number 6, communications from the public and petitions.
Number 1, notice of claim from Rebecca Myrick for alleged damages to her vehicle when it was struck by a city plow truck.
Motion to refer this to the law department. Councilman Williams with the first.
Second it.
Councilman Heenan with the second. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Councilmember Bamanto?
Aye.
Councilmember Heenan?
Aye.
Councilmember Civiletto?
Aye.
Councilmember at large Vowasia.
Aye.
Number 2, notice of claim from Ken Drummond for alleged damages to his rims when he hit an unfilled pothole.
Motion to refer this to the law department. Councilman Williams with the first. Councilman Bamanto with the second. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Councilmember Bamanto?
Aye.
Councilmember Heenan?
Aye.
Councilmember Civiletto?
Aye.
Councilmember at large Vowasia.
Aye. Reports of standing committees, boards, and commissions. Councilman Williams?
I have to change the DPW meeting. It was originally set for next Wednesday, the 24th. I have another commitment that day, so we're going to do Tuesday, January 30th at 4 o'clock in the mayor's conference room. Other thing that I have is I went to the Board of Education's meeting on Thursday, and they talked about an SRO position. And afterwards, some of the parents and teachers that were there kind of seemed to think that it was something that the council or the mayor was kind of stopping. And I just want to get it out on the record that the SRO position has not come before this council yet. So we're not holding up anything. I think that it would be a smart thing for the school district to do it, but I also realize that that's a school board issue, not a city council issue. We would be doing something that would authorize the mayor to get into negotiations or something for that. The other thing that happened while I was there is when the superintendent mentioned that he was speaking to somebody about the SRO position, I was kind of shocked that he mentioned that he was talking to the PBA president, not the mayor or the city attorney or anything. So I just wanted to ask the mayor if that's our administration's policy to have the frontline staff do negotiations for that, or if you were planning on sending somebody else.
I was unaware that that meeting was taking place. The superintendent and I have had discussion since that meeting, and I have reached out to our PBA president to have discussion with him. I've also had discussion with our police chief, and I believe we're all on the same page, Councilman. I believe what we want is an SRO in the school. Ultimately, the responsibility to pay for that position lies with the school district. The city, as far as I'm concerned, will do anything and everything that we can to help facilitate that to happen. I was disappointed that the meeting took place and I was not included, and I understand your position. I also spoke with Councilman Civiletto on this issue, who also attended that same meeting. And again, I don't know, I can't speak on behalf of the superintendent or the PBA president. I can only say to you that I am willing to work with them. Again, I was disappointed that the meeting took place without me present. And I've already spoken with the superintendent and advised him that if he wishes to have any further discussion on this issue, that I would be the person he would need to contact. In no way did I delegate that duty to have the city represented
by our frontline staff, regardless of their position with the union, and I would never do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And then I would just also like to conclude my part of it with just saying that fine job by the Juneteenth committee with their Martin Luther King Day luncheon yesterday at the Moose Club. It was well attended. I think they were saying they had record numbers there, and it was a very good event. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Williams. Councilman Bamanto?
There will be a personnel meeting Wednesday, January 31st, 4 p.m., in the mayor's conference room. And I just have one question for Randy. Is there anything being done on Howard Avenue due to this weather?
Yes. The contractor's still there, and we discovered just this afternoon that the water line on West Howard Avenue, under the bridge, might be embedded in the foundation of the old bridge. So it's gonna be a little bit tricky. It's not gonna hold us back. We're gonna have our crews work with H&K crew and keep on going. But we don't wanna have your residents without water. So it's added one other complication, but as you well know, this project has had one complication after another that we've smiled and addressed and got through. So we're gonna get through this one too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman Bamanto. Councilman Heenan?
I have nothing to say.
Councilman Civiletto?
Yeah, last week I did have a safety committee meeting. I introduced something called the Code Red system. It's a system that is an emergency notification system that municipalities use, including Gowanda, Orchard Park, Hamburg. And it was basically just an exploratory introduction to it. I just wanted to see if I felt that there was a gap in how the citizens are notified for things like travel advisories. There was a travel advisory about 3 weeks ago that I don't feel enough people knew about, only because it was put out on Facebook and our website and WDOE and TV, and that sounds like an awful lot of places, but if you don't actively go to those places to see is there a travel advisory, you're never going to know. And Code Red actually is a system that cell phones are alerted, and you get a text to each citizen who signs up for it. So it's something that we're exploring, and I'm going to stay on that and see if there's a way that I can get funding to get that in the city. Let me see. I also wanted to congratulate the Juneteenth committee. The Martin Luther King luncheon yesterday was fantastic, and it was very well attended, like Mr. Williams said, or Councilman Williams said, and it was a great event. Randy, I wanted to thank you for the streets department and their efforts of plowing the sidewalks. I saw that most of the sidewalks in the city were plowed in the last couple of days, and that's been fantastic. I do have a concern about the area east of Roberts Road, like Kosciuszko Avenue, Sobieski, McDonough. Those streets seem to be the last streets that typically get done, and sometimes the residents are telling me that sometimes those streets don't get done at all. I don't know if that's true or not, but since I've been here for a couple of weeks, and I'd like to see if there's a way that we could maybe put those up on the list a little bit. They are harder to get out of because those are all hills, and the Fourth Ward is very hilly. So once snow falls in that area, it's almost impossible to get out. And I hear that some of the residents are actually plowing the streets themselves so they can get out. Yes, sir.
I will make sure that our employees realize that God's sacred acres are very important to get to very fast.
Yes. It's the hilly element is very important. Yeah. It's hard to get out of there. And let me see. Oh, I wanted to announce that there's a meeting for the city of Dunkirk, the Vacant Property Task Force, which is where we're talking about the zombie properties. on January 30th, Tuesday, January 30th, at the Fredonia Incubator, the Technology Incubator, from 6 to 8 p.m. They're going to be talking about their continuing strategy to address issues of vacant houses and zombie houses, and what the next step is, and and they're asking for suggestions from the citizens and what we should do about the properties that we've identified now. And I don't know if I can make a plug for the Revitalize Dunkirk Beautification Committee is, since they're giving us baskets to hang of flowers, they're again asking for donations, and if you go to their website or if you contact Dunkirk, Revitalize Dunkirk, they really appreciate some donations, because we have, or they have, I'm actually on Revitalize Dunkirk as well, added 8 new baskets that they're going to be going all the way up to the library and the hospital area. So they're expanding the program, and so they need a little bit more money, and they appreciate any donations you can make. I believe that's all that I have.
Thank you, Councilman Civiletto. The only announcement I have is there's a Finance Committee meeting this Thursday, the 18th at 4 p.m. in the Mayor's Conference Room. Moving on, unfinished business, there is none, so pre-filed resolutions.
Number 12, resolution authorizing agreement for consultant services for City of Dunkirk Smart Growth Capital Initiative Central Connections Project.
Any discussion, council? Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Councilmember Bamanto?
Aye.
Councilmember Heenan?
Aye.
Councilmember Civiletto?
Aye.
Councilmember at-large Voroshin.
Aye.
Resolution authorizing agreement for consultant services for City of Dunkirk Smart Growth Capital Initiative Pier and Harbor Projects.
Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Councilmember Bamanto?
Aye.
Councilmember Heenan?
Aye.
Councilmember Civiletto?
Aye.
Councilmember at-large Voroshin.
Aye.
Resolution authorizing agreement for consultant services for City of Dunkirk Smart Growth Capital Initiative Branding and Marketing Projects.
Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Councilmember Bamanto?
Aye.
Councilmember Heenan?
Aye.
Councilmember Civiletto?
Aye.
Councilmember at-large Voroshin.
Aye.
Resolution for State Environmental Quality Review Act Determination of Environmental Significance Negative Declaration.
Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Councilmember Bamanto?
Aye.
Councilmember Heenan?
Aye.
Councilmember Civiletto?
Aye.
Councilmember at-large Voroshin.
Aye.
Resolution authorizing agreement for the adoption of the Chautauqua County Jurisdictional All-Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Councilmember Bamanto?
Aye.
Councilmember Heenan?
Aye.
Councilmember Civiletto?
Aye.
Councilmember at-large Voroshin.
Aye.
Resolution authorizing to bag all inoperable parking meters in the city until deemed operable.
Any discussion? Councilman Civiletto?
This is something I've been working on for actually years, trying to figure out a plan to make the parking meters in the city equitable. I've found that there are some that operate or don't, or there aren't any in front of some businesses and not in front of the others. So I'm looking for a way to attack that and to fix that problem. But I don't believe that this is probably the way to go right now, even though it was brought by me. I'd like to see this tabled for right now. I've got some other suggestions from other councilmen for some other ways to fix the problem. We do have one suggestion from Hector Rosas, said to take the meters that are in the back of the city and use those, because the meters really that we're using are from the 60s, I believe. So you can't buy the parts for them anymore. You can't fix them because you can't buy the parts if there's a part that's broken. So we're going to use those. But in the meantime, until the weather breaks a little bit, the council and I are going to figure out what we're going to do, and hopefully we'll have a decision by the next meeting. on exactly the best way to attack the problem. So I'm motioning that it be tabled.
Councilman Civiletto has a motion to table the resolution. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Councilman Heenan with the second. Clerk, call the roll on the table.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Councilmember Bamanto?
Aye.
Councilmember Heenan?
Aye.
Councilmember Civiletto?
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Vorship.
Aye, motion is tabled. Moving on to new business, we have two walk-in resolutions. Number 18.
Resolution accepting general construction contract for Wright Park renovations.
Any discussion, council? Councilman Williams?
Just, I believe these were emailed. This, in the future, if we're gonna have these, can we have them on paper so we can look at them? I didn't check my email before I came in here today. Just a request, thank you.
Duly noted. Any further discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Councilmember Bamanto?
Aye.
Councilmember Heenan?
Aye.
Councilmember Civiletto?
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Vorship.
Aye. Number 19.
Resolution accepting plumbing construction contract for Wright Park renovations.
Any discussion, council? Seeing none, clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Councilmember Bamanto?
Aye.
Councilmember Heenan?
Aye.
Councilmember Civiletto?
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Vorship.
Aye. Resolution passes. Mr. Heenan just notified me he has something he'd like to share.
Yeah, I'd like to say I appreciate Mr. Soletto's work on the Code Red system. As I thought about it, I also thought about a few other things that may or may not be included in it if he moves forward with this. Of course, our first priority is the cost of it. That's one of our first concerns. But it's also something we could use as a tool and as a providing information to people, not just for traffic, not just for advisories. It could also be used for events, music on the pier, detours from the parade route, Memorial Day, July 4th, warnings, and so on, other notices. And it would be something you would sign up. So, I mean, you would sign up and you know you would get it. It's not that it would just be peppered out to everybody. Not only could we do it just for the residents, if somebody wanted to sign up and say they were from Fredonia, Brockton, any of the other outlying areas, and they want to know more about music on the pier, who's playing, it could be anything that we provide, not only for our city residents, but outside, it might be a great tool for that also. And whatever your thoughts are, again, that's just something that's out there, and it's, again, people might choose to show some interest in that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Heenan. Motion to adjourn. Councilman Williams with the first, Councilman Civiletto with the second. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Williams?
Aye.
Councilmember Bamanto?
Aye.
Councilmember Heenan?
Aye.
Councilmember Civiletto?
Aye.
Councilmember at Large Vorship.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.
You know, at Lincoln Tech, my hard work today leads to a rewarding tomorrow. The future is in my hands, and nobody can stop me but me. This is where I make it happen. Nothing can stop my hustle. There isn't just one road to success. You have to create your own path. At Lincoln Tech, my career is full speed ahead. My future is supercharged. Awesome cars, crazy technology, hands-on training. Supercharge your future at Lincoln Tech. Click here to learn more.
you.